our viewers. Today we have a very special guest on our episode of Masala Talks Lockdown Mode. This is none other than Manvi Gagroo, who you will be seeing soon in the second episode of 4 more shots. And let's make that 8 more shots to kind of deal with the stuff that we're going on, right?
Lockdown. Hi, hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining us all the way from Bombay.
Thank you
And
for having me.
Manvi, how does it feel to promote a series? I mean, this is such an important moment for you. You know, it's the second season, a lot of curiosity about the series and things like that. And suddenly this entire thing has happened and you have to promote it digitally for a digital platform. It's kind of odd, isn't it?
So, Lekha, initially when, we were all looking, everything was planned, everything was scheduled. We were all kind of ready to go into these promotions. And then when the lockdown got announced and we realized that, okay, we might have to do this a different way. And initially there was talk of postponing the show or preponing it or whatever, but all of that, thankfully, none of that happened. And we've maintained the date of release the same. But I think it's interesting. I mean, it's got its advantages and disadvantages. Like, of course, one major advantage and one major relief that we all felt the minute we heard that this is how we're going to be promoting now was that, okay, wo tension jo hoti hai na about your outfits and your hair and makeup look and coordinating, and like there's a lot going on, then you're going from one to the other, and then you're traveling, doing city tours and stuff. So it is a lot of mind space that's required. So that was a bit of a relief that, okay, we don't have to deal with any of that. We can do it from our own homes and wearing whatever, no hair, makeup required, just like sit in front. Nobody's even expecting you to, be all dolled up, because everybody knows we're all in this together. We're all in our homes. So nobody's like, it's all great. Of course, we miss doing it together. We miss each other, and in fact, today was like, suddenly for some reason, it's hit all of us together today that, oh, the show is coming out in 3 days. So suddenly we were missing each other and we were texting each other since morning, like we're saying that, oh, we're getting butterflies and it's whatever. So obviously right now, we would have been together, we would have everywhere been that part we miss. But it's also, I think, all in all, this is something we'll always look back on very, it's a very refreshing thing, and we'll always, we've never done this before. Nobody's ever done this before.
Nobody
So
has
it's
done
very,
it,
it's new for us also. And it is something which we'll all remember. Every time we look back at the lockdown, I, for one, will remember that, we were also promoting season 2 or 4 more shots throughout. So things like that. I think it's all in all, it's interesting. It's a new
I think even for us journalists, it would be like, hopefully the next time the 4 more shots season 3, we will be actually meeting and perhaps we can just chat about, hey, the second season we interviewed on Zoom.
Yeah. We'll have something new to talk about.
Yeah, indeed. So let's talk about the show. Of course, given the situation it is, obviously every new show is really, you look forward to it.
Sure.
Is the pressure more this time because it's kind of set a certain tone and there's a certain amount of expectation for the show? So is the pressure more?
Not really. I mean, I know what you're saying, and I felt that during the release of Tripling season 2, because I felt that it had so much expectations riding on it. People were dying. I mean, they loved season 1 so much, and then they were coming into season 2 with like a mountain of expectations, and which I thought wasn't fair. But somehow in 4 more shots, I don't have that worry, because I think people who are already invested in the show, who are already invested in the characters and the lives they lead, they will love it. I mean, for them, it'll be a treat, because it's all of that and more. But for people who haven't watched the show before, I feel there'll be a lot of new audience this season. Maybe also because of the lockdown, because a lot of people are sitting at home and they're looking to watch things. So even people who might not have watched season 1 previously will end up watching it. So I think it's I'm not nervous about about that expectation factor. I'm always nervous about a new release because
Naturally.
you're always waiting to know. Firstly, you're waiting to watch it yourself and see what
Yeah.
it is you think of the product, and
Mhm.
then in addition, you want other people's views and validation and all of that. So
Mhm.
so yeah, I think I'm fairly positive
Mhm.
for now.
Mhm. Regarding FOMO shots, obviously there's a lot of interest in the sense that it represented a certain kind of urban Indian women, the first season at least. Very honestly speaking, like in a very non-judgmental way, do you think you would identify with those women? Because certain elements, I mean, I'm a single woman staying alone in a new city and a different thing, but sometimes certain things were really not, identifiable. In the sense that, okay, who leads that kind of a life when you're working and there are other challenges? Somehow it almost like the Sex and the City show, it only focused a lot on the private lives of these four women. It failed to give a complete, like, holistic perspective about the other struggles that single women face. What do you have to say to it?
Okay, first of all, I personally didn't think so. I mean, I didn't think it was just the personal life. Of course, we are following the lives of these four girls,
Mhm.
and personal life will always be a huge part of it, right? I mean, everything else is an aspect of your
Mhm.
personality. Your work is an aspect. I mean, apart from work, everything else becomes personal. Like whether it's your relationship with your friends or with your family or your own personal struggles and dreams and stuff. So I don't think it only focused on one aspect. I think there is a more or less a 360-degree view, but of course we're also talking about these four individuals and their relationship vis-a-vis each other, so it will always be in relation to these four.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, I think uh, a lot of times, I mean, when we're telling a story, any story, like whether it's a web series or whether it's a film or it's a play or whatever, it is the storyteller's choice to
Mhm.
choose what he or she decides to focus on. So
Correct.
to for example, I mean, I don't know, let's say a Dil Chahta Hai,
Mhm.
which is one of my favorite
Yes.
Indian films.
Mhm.
So when Dil Chahta Hai came out, so I mean, that was also about these three boys and their friendship, and then this one
Mhm.
trip they take, and then
Yeah.
what happens in their lives. So in fact, they didn't touch upon career at all. Like,
Mhm.
we don't know what Amir Khan's character was doing. We know he goes to Australia on his dad's behest. We know that Akshay Khanna's character is a painter, but we don't really delve into what it's like to be a painter in India. I mean, I
That's
could
true.
have had that problem. So I think we need to, as audience, we need to learn to um, watch what we are watching rather than what we want it to be.
Okay.
And critically view that, if we have to, not कि अरे ये क्यों नहीं किया. अरे वो
Mhm.
director की choice है, I mean, they have chosen this story to tell. Now, not to say that the other stories don't exist or the other stories can't be told, but
Mhm.
this is just a choice of the
Sure.
storyteller. But this was my point two. Point number three, I feel that the beauty for me of the show is that while on the face of it, these
Mhm.
women are urban, I mean, are incredibly urban and are very privileged,
Yeah.
and they're very, I mean, they belong to a certain niche socio-economic class, so
Yes.
to say. But despite all of that, the conflicts or the issues they face in life are the same.
Mhm.
They are universal. Like, they are still having to justify why they don't want to get married, or they don't want to have kids, or they are still having to choose between career and kids and career and marriage. They are still having to hide their sexuality. They
Mhm.
are still having to fight with their parents about being able to pursue their dreams. And so all these issues are universal
Mhm.
to women, to a lot of men also. So I think, if, like, we need to look beyond the frill.
Mhm.
And it's like saying, if that way I would never be able to watch a rural film. I've
Mhm.
never lived in a rural area. I have never in like had close intimate relationships with somebody from a rural area. But
Mhm.
I still watch a film or read a story on that, and I'm able to appreciate it for what it is.
Indeed. What are the stereotypes that you have encountered as a single woman living alone, working? what are the kind of stereotypes that you see around you, and how have you, say, faced them and given it back to them when somebody has made any, say, snarky remark or something?
So no, I often call it out when I can. So like there are times when, like I remember there was some like if I'm in a group of people and we're discussing something, and and I feel like the minute I'm saying I mean, when the men are talking, it's taken more seriously, and the minute I start talking, and I'm probably saying the same thing, or at least, I mean, if they are expressing their views, so am I. But somehow people start either talking over me, or they'll start countering that point, and suddenly, so then I've always been like, wait 1 second, that you allowed that person to talk, I think it's my turn, so I should be
Yeah.
allowed to say what I have to, things like that. So that is one. Then a lot of times, um, I mean, so I live alone in Bombay, and if I'm entering my society late at night, and probably coming from either a shoot or a party, in both the cases I'm decked up, and then I'll see some auntie checking me out upar se niche, and I don't know, judging me and thinking what, I don't know, or some uncle. So those kind of things. um a lot. Then obviously, of course, my relatives are constantly asking me ki shadi kab karni hai, shadi kab karni hai. So those things, I mean, yeah, like I think we all face these
Have you
things, and
ever
we are
faced accommodation issues?
uh I mean, yeah, there are certain societies that don't allow single people. They want married couples or families. So that has happened. And then, yeah, then, and I also feel they're just more strict when it comes to single people, because they'll be like, ye nahi kar, halka sa bhi awaaz aayegi to I have families around me, and I hear them watching TV till really late at night and very loud. And some of them have kids who are playing outside, and banging into my door and this and that. But that's all okay. But if I'm listening to music in the middle of the day, which is slightly maybe higher or whatever, so problem ho jati. Things like that.
Mm-hmm. Wow, fantastic. And are you allowed to get boyfriends to your house?
I'm allowed to get friends to my house, yeah. So nobody needs to know what exact relationship I have with them. But yeah, friends, of course, are allowed. And not during the lockdown. The society has closed its gates to any outsiders. But otherwise, yeah.
Fantastic. So what are the other projects or other web series that you're working on apart from this? I mean, this of course is releasing
So
now.
Lekha, I actually had one project which was starting in the first week of April, then another one which was starting mid-May. But and we had somehow managed to accommodate these two projects because dates ka bahut issue ho raha tha, but we somehow managed. Now I honestly don't know where that stands, because
God.
everything is like up in the air. So and we can't, and there's no point planning also,
Yeah.
because this industry is such that planning means giving advance, booking locations, booking equipment, booking technicians, and the people. But abhi pata hi nahi hai ki hone kya wala hai. We have no idea what's going to happen. So there's no clarity on that yet. So everything is just on a standstill right now.
Let's talk about your movies. Of course, I mean, you've been really in the spotlight in the last few months with, with the web series with Shubh Mangal Savdan, which unfortunately didn't release here in Dubai, so I haven't been able to watch it. What was that experience like, and are you looking at more movies in the sense, and what kind of roles are you looking at?
So, Lekha, one thing which, I mean, obviously, I'd love to do more films. But one thing that web has changed for me is the fact that I wouldn't do a film just because it's a film. Ki arey picture mil rahi hai, kar lo. That is no longer a reason. I mean, now I would do a film because I like the character, or I like the project, or the people are people I want to work with, or it's a project that I'm dying to be associated with. So things like that. I think now I'll take up a project, take up a film for the right reasons. So that is one thing. And I'd love to do different characters. I've been like
which you have
last
managed,
1 year.
I must say. You quite kind of managed that pretty well in the body of
and
work that you have done so far.
Yeah, no, touch wood. And also I also feel that I think I've been very lucky to have worked with such lovely people. Like I have honestly, in the last 1 year, I think I've done the maximum amount of work in the last 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
combined with, everything I've done before. But I think it's like I've had the opportunity and the good luck to have worked with very creative, very intelligent, very nice, and very collaborative people. Who
Mm-hmm.
want people who want that everybody should be working on this together, and that makes it all the more fun, and that makes it all the more enjoyable for you to be doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
and these roles have come my way, that also I'm extremely thankful for. So I think I would like to continue doing different characters, with different groups, with different kinds of storytellers and directors and makers, because that also, I think that also always keeps adding, because everybody has a different style of working. Everybody
Sure.
has a different style of direction, of writing a script, of how you're portraying a character, and it's always great to collaborate with different minds.
Yeah.
So that is something that that has always been priority for me, and so I'd like to continue doing this work.
No, no, of course, absolutely. And in the sense, what is the difference between, let's say, of course, these mediums are different, but you have also, as I said, managed to create your niche in the last 1.5 years. Do you see the roles that are coming that your way change, and the kind of change in approach in terms of, say, the filmmakers coming to you?
I think in general, it's changed. Like, especially in films,
Hmm.
web anyway was
Hmm.
web was, because it's a new medium.
Yeah.
It's got a more contemporary voice.
Yes.
By virtue of that, and also it's been given rise to by people who wanted to make different stories. Who
Hmm.
weren't satisfied with film or television, so they found there was this new market, or new a gap that they found and cashed in on.
Hmm.
So anyway, the voices are very modern and urban and contemporary and progressive, mostly.
Hmm.
And I think by virtue of that, even films have had to kind of bring in that element. If you notice in
Correct.
the last few years, the kind of films that have done well
Hmm.
at the box office, or have received a lot of love by audiences, have been stories that are either different,
Hmm.
or have a certain substance in them. Like, we're done, I think, as a nation, as a society, we're done with those masala Bollywood films.
They're
वो हो
fun,
गया, मतलब there's only
but they're
so
fun.
much of that. They're fun, but every once in a while, like,
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah. So I think in general, that is changing. And so obviously the roles that are being written are better,
Hmm.
are more
Hmm.
progressive, are more substantial. The roles hence
Hmm.
that are coming my way, or another female actor's way,
Hmm.
might also be like this. So
Hmm.
also, another thing is that uh, like, thank again, fortunately, I have I've got ये अपने आप हुआ है. I have nothing to do with it, but people assume that I only play strong women characters, and
Hmm.
they come to me with only those. So that's another positive thing that's come out of this, that I only get approached for very strong parts.
That's nice.
So
That's lucky. That's really good, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So where are you from, basically? I mean, Bombay, you said you're staying alone
I'm
and working.
originally from Delhi,
Okay,
born and
okay.
brought up in Delhi. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. And is that very different? I mean, Bombay, Delhi, and the kind of work culture and people?
Yeah, yeah, very different. I have, of course, now I call Bombay home. Now Bombay
Okay.
has become home. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, Delhi will always hold a special place in my heart. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's where, I've grown up. That's where my
Mm-hmm.
parents are. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where our, like, ghar ka, ghar is. But otherwise, I think I definitely prefer Bombay. I think
Mm-hmm.
the people here are far more professional, um, I mean, it's far safer for women.
Yes,
It's
yes.
more, yeah, it's also, I think, in general, it's safer for
Mhm.
younger progressive people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's there. uh, I obviously, there are lots of things I miss about Delhi. I miss the food, I miss shopping in Delhi, I miss my friends, I miss the open wide roads and the greenery and everything. But people of Bombay are definitely, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, better than
Mm-hmm.
Delhi.
And finally, Manvi, coming back to, of course, FOMO shots. I mean, especially for women like us who have grown up on these kind of, Western series and all, Sex and the City
Yeah,
is a natural comparison. Um,
yeah.
if I were to ask you to choose one woman from Sex and the City, who would you identify with the most?
I've always been Carrie Bradshaw, always.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
so we always, yeah, we've been like, even when we used to watch Sex and the City, and I have a gang of girls, so I was always the Carrie because I was always landing up in situations and then turning to my friends saying, "How do I get out of this?" You know,
Uh-huh.
so that that was always the thing. And yeah, so we also I have a girl gang, and I have a Charlotte and Carrie and Miranda and Samantha
Okay.
and them.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
I think I'd equate you more with Charlotte, that kind of innocence is also there at the same time. At
I
least in
think
the first,
Yeah, Siddhi would be more
yeah,
Charlotte, yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, your character,
And
exactly.
Manvi is more Carrie, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I see, I see. I hope Siddhi finds her Mr. Right in this, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a Mr. Right or any kind of a template for Mr. Right in your life?
I have a template, yeah, and I think it's because my template is so strict that I haven't been able to find a Mr. Mr. Right to fit that template. But yeah, abhi to I'm single, yeah, single, and I think right now I've realized that I don't have time for
Come on, don't say that.
like
Don't
a
say that. All
relationship.
actresses say that, and I don't think, come on, you can have
No,
fun.
but seriously, yeah, because if you do meet somebody and you want to kind of start a relationship, you have to give it time. You have to take out time to meet, you have to take out time to talk on the phone, and you have to like give it some mind space. Or nahi hoti hai yaar kai baar, you don't have that space. You feel like abhi to nahi hai, abhi I don't have time for all this.
Maybe the lockdown is the period then. You have the time, you're sitting at home, you're
No, 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 no. On the contrary, I've been telling people कि lockdown के time तो don't start a new relationship, don't break an old one also, because a lot of people are coming to this point where they're like, that's it, I'm gonna call. I can't see this person. I'm breaking up with her. I'm breaking up with him, and I'm trying to tell them, no, 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 don't. It because the lockdown is going to bring up a lot of emotions and a lot of different kinds of thoughts to your mind. But this is not our default setting. We
Mhm.
will go back to a normal world. I mean, yes, these things will, I mean, you have to deal with issues that are coming up, but don't take any decisions during this time. Don't take any like long term decisions for sure.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, man. We're really looking forward to it. I know I'll be watching it. Somehow, it connects with you at a personal level, especially for women who are working and staying
Yeah,
alone and all
yeah.
that. So, really looking forward to it and looking forward to more
Thank
of your
you.
work and especially on the big
Thank
screen
you.
as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so
Lekha.
much.
See you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.